you also have to do your part. And if we could just stop oppressing each other and be there for each other and love each other and say, you know what, I see you, instead of just putting all of that blame on the next person, then that's when change is really going to start.
Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Adi Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited Relationships Podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe.
And I'm Sophie Jaffe.
And we are so excited to come with you here today. What a powerful episode we have.
Yes.
With Julia Jovone. Man, you're going to hear what a story this woman has, huh?
She has such an amazing story. She's so inspiring. And we'll get more into it in the intro. We want to hit up the first things first, but she is a gem of a human. Yeah,
and I picked this review because I think it speaks to some of these kinds of stories that I think you get to hear here and maybe not in a lot of other places. So this one is from Liz in the LV, Powerful Passion and Honesty. Sometimes you crave someone to speak the truth. Sometimes you crave raw honesty. Sometimes you crave the real energy that comes from the open flow of the heart. When you're craving these real intimate moments, the Ignited Podcast is what you need to listen to. Sophie and Adi provide listeners with conversations that tackle relationships at their most vulnerable and beautiful moments. As someone welcoming positive energy flow into her relationships, I cannot get enough of this podcast exploration of often tough subjects that others do not want to tackle. I'm filled with gratitude at the light their words are bringing into our lives and highly recommend giving Ignited a listen. In a time where our society feels so broken and disjointed, it's a welcome listen and one that will both educate and balance you. Thank you, Sophie and Adi, for the work that you do.
Love that.
I was like tearing up reading that. It's so amazing.
So beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, Liz, for that. It's, again, I know we tell you guys this every week, but these are the reasons we do it. This is why we go to places that are uncomfortable. This is why we talk to people who you might not hear from otherwise and share parts of their journey that you may not have heard. And you know, Julia being an award-winning, Emmy-Award-winning makeup artist, and just you hear about the trials and tribulations and the leaps. You know that phrase, Sophie, that you love, leap and then that will appear. Mm-hmm. I feel like Julia is an embodiment of what turns out to happen in your life when you just are willing to leap over and over and over.
Exactly. She actually just posted this quote. I usually just kind of read quotes that inspire me, and I go to my section in my phone full of all these beautiful quotes, but I just was on her page and I found this quote, and it's so fitting for what we share here on Ignited and also what she stands for. So Julia wrote, "Evolve so hard that they have to get to know you again. Evolve so hard that they have to get to know you again." And she wrote, "You do have the power to change, but first you must see the truth. This decade is up to you." And that's Meredith Atwood said that quote. You do have the power to change, but first you must see the truth. This decade is up to you. And, you know, this is what it's all about: evolving, changing, growing, making mistakes, evolving past that, going to the edge of your growth, and then going past that and evolving to the next and the next layer and the next layer. And that process of growth, of that, contraction and expansion. Like when you're in the contraction, it hurts. You want to go inward. You want to be alone. You're absorbing, you're integrating, you're processing. You're actually in the midst of changing. And then you get to evolve as the butterfly, and everyone just thinks, oh, you're so evolved, it's so easy. It's not easy. The process of change is not easy. It's uncomfortable. And we're really sitting in that discomfort over these last 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and beyond. We're here to sit in the discomfort from conversations we're having with our Black brothers and sisters right out here in our neighborhood. Hours of conversations. I'm hoping to bring in some of these friends and have these conversations right here on the podcast. But we're going there. We're having them here. We're sharing them with you. We're not editing. We're just sharing our process and our mistakes along with it so we can all learn and grow together.
Yeah, I mean, I think you brought up the butterfly, and I have a TEDx talk that literally dives in deeply into that. So we'll put the link and people can listen to that. But you said uncomfortable, like real change to that extent. You want to become a fucking butterfly? It's pain and struggle. The caterpillar eats itself to become a butterfly. And if we want, so many of us say that we want change, we want a better life, we want to expand, we want to grow, we want these amazing things. But we run away a lot of times.
We run away. And something you'll hear a lot from Julia, who's a mom of 4. We didn't even really get into her story, but she is just a warrior, a mama warrior, and such an inspiration and such a light and so beautiful. You can feel her energy from a mile away. But really, she took risks. That's the one thing. If you look at like different snapshots, she kind of gave us an overview before we even started recording. If you listen to this, she took risks. Like you said, leap and the net will appear. That is what she does.
Yeah, absolutely. And so pay attention, listen, look, yes, we're going on these stories that go along with the kind of racial equality movements that are happening, but these are all human stories. That's the entire point, is these are human stories. So pay attention, listen to the lessons in your life. Where were the times where that opportunity was there and you said, no, I'm not big enough to fill those shoes, or I won't be able to succeed, or I'm already kind of comfortable where I am right now and I don't want to jump into this other amazing thing. Listen and identify the places in your life where you can expand and you can grow yourself.
Thanks so much, you guys. Hope you enjoy it.
See you on the other side. Hey everybody, D here, and I wanted to tell you about these new Blue Blocks glasses that I've been wearing. If you're on any of our chats, you might have actually literally seen me wear them, because the ones I wear have these yellow lenses. And I gotta tell you, I've tried other Blue Blocker glasses before, and they felt okay, right? I felt a little bit of a shift in the way that the screens that I'm staring at every single day affected me. But then I heard about Blue Blocks, and these guys really went to task. We just interviewed their founder. He's an amazing, amazing guy who really wanted to understand, how does light affect vision? And I'm like the science guy here. So I wanted to tell you that there's nothing I put on. So they have Blue Blocks has 3 different levels of their lenses. Blue light, which are kind of like the ones you see a lot of people wear around. They're clear and help with the blue light coming in from screens. My favorites are the Summer Glow lenses. They're yellow lenses, and I swear I put these things on during the day and I can actually feel my anxiety go down. And that's what they're meant for. It's like the combination of color therapy and blue light blocking at the same time. And then on top of those, they created the Sleep Plus lens that is almost like a reddish orange. It blocks out almost all of the blue light that's coming your way, and so it's really, really great right before sleep. But here's the thing. These are amazing glasses that have actually been tested to block out the right frequencies of blue light. So if you're like me, especially during this time when we're staring at screens and Zoom and meetings and everything is happening online, you want to get these glasses, because I feel it. Literally, my sleep is better. My anxiety throughout the day is better when I put these things on. They're amazing. And we got you guys a special code. If you use the code IGNITED, just capital IGNTD, you'll get not only free shipping, but also 15% off. And these things are coming all the way from Australia, so you want to save on that shipping. All right, guys, check these out. They're amazing. This is the only company that actually backs their blue light blocking by scientific evidence that the right frequencies are being blocked. It's going to help change your life. All right, everybody, welcome back to our little conversation piece, our talk here. We've got Julia Jovone with us here, and for those of you who are following along, we made a promise when this whole racial inequality, George Floyd, deep conversation about where we're trying to go when it comes to race and rights and expectations and justice in this country, where we're going to go. I made a promise that we're going to go longer than some other people in terms of continuing this conversation, and I hope we're sticking to that. As we were talking, Julia, right before we went on, I know that like so many other flare-ups, this too will shift and people kind of get used to it. We're just hoping, just like we just said, we're hoping that the new normal will be different than what we had been experiencing, cycle after cycle of violence. And we talked about that in a lot of different ways. But you've been in LA for 5 years, but you've had quite a quite a journey to get here. So would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners just a little bit? Tell them about how we got to this moment sitting here.
Well, again, I'm Julia Jovone. I am originally from Chicago, but lived in New York for about 15 years. I moved to LA in 2015, started my life 20 years ago. Well, not my life, my career. 20 years ago, leaving Chicago to move to New York as a makeup artist, and won an Emmy in 2009, 2010, and 2011, winning one Emmy, but nominated 3 times.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm actually considered the only Black female to win an Emmy for makeup artistry for a drama series for my show that I won for.
Wow.
That's so great.
So that was a dream turned reality.
Yeah.
With moving to New York from Chicago, I had always said that I wanted to win an Oscar.
You got it wrong. They got it wrong.
Right.
You got the wrong
The universe
statue.
was like, okay, baby, not an Oscar, but we'll throw you an Emmy. So yeah, and
What made, if you don't mind me even asking, so growing up in Chicago, what made New York and entertainment and that world exciting? What's the thing that first drew you to it? I believe everybody has this creative juice inside of them.
yeah.
What made that the route you wanted to go?
Well, coming from Chicago and working in corporate America,
Julia was just shaking her head back and forth. It's
it just was, it was wonderful. The money was amazing. Great career. And at that time, I think I had to be probably from 23 to maybe 27 years old. And it was wonderful. However, my spirit had always been called to makeup, even like being a young kid, playing in my mom's makeup, getting my friends ready to go out and charging them $10 to get their makeup done, to go
nice.
to the
Entrepreneur
club.
vibes.
the hustle is on from the beginning. I love it.
Makeup was just my dream. So while I was working in corporate America, it was basically me training myself. I was a sales assistant turned executive administrative assistant for the Park Hyatt Hotel in Chicago. And what I did was I took all of that training and turned it into my own personal business. So all of the sales kits and contracts, I used that and made it for my makeup business.
Nice.
And then
Train on the job.
oh my God, I was getting schooled, and I was paying attention, like eyes wide open and ears just open for all the knowledge that I was learning from the Park Hyatt. And I ended up getting like a disc. Remember the floppy disk?
Oh, yeah.
With like 500 brides that was getting married in Chicago. So what I did, I took that disc with all of those 500 upcoming brides.
Yeah.
And I sent out a press kit to
Wow.
all of them, offering makeup services. This is what I would do
Wow.
for this many people.
So ahead of your time.
Yeah, I feel like I was.
Yeah.
And then when the Park Hyatt had an ad in a popular magazine in Chicago, I can't remember what it was called at this time, but I also invested and took out an ad for myself.
Wow.
So everything the Park Hyatt was doing for their marketing, I was actually doing at the same time. And that's how
Brilliant.
I became like a sensation in Chicago for doing weddings. But I outgrew it. It became too small. So I was like, you know what? I want to go to New York. I want my own makeup line now.
So cool.
So I always challenged myself. And during that time, my son, when we did move to New York, I was 27 and he was 7. And that was it. I dropped everything, the apartment, the job, moved to New York, worked at Ralph Lauren. I knew some people there. I became a sales assistant there, hated it. But I love the fact that I got a chance to meet people and announce that I'm a makeup artist.
Yep.
I'm a makeup artist.
Totally.
Connections.
So it was really great. New York showed me a lot of love, a lot of patience, a lot of grind. Like the grinding in New York was amazing. The energy was just, it was wonderful. So New York gave me the drive to actually take those dreams and turn them into a reality. That's
so cool. I always wonder about these pieces because in hindsight, they seem to all make sense. But then as you're talking about the actual story, there were a lot of moments where, you had to show up, get uncomfortable, do things
Very uncomfortable.
Take risks. Take
mean,
serious
huge
risks
risks.
with a baby in tow.
having a
child.
successful business
Yeah.
already in one city and then going like, screw it, I'm
drop it.
gonna go to a completely different city and still use the same skill set, but doing a completely different arena is something that I like for people to listen and pay attention to. You know, we have all these amazing people on. I want you to pay attention to the journey though.
It's the journey.
You gotta, to get to that level of success, sometimes you gotta jump off the cliff and go, I think I have a parachute on. I'm gonna find out in a minute when I get to pull the cord.
And getting really
That's so
comfortable with that trust muscle and being like,
that faith.
I'm gonna leap. Yeah, faith. I'm gonna leap. I'm gonna trust that wherever I land is where I'm meant to be because I'm taking the leap.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's exactly all I had. I had found an apartment in New York and I had a roommate. Oh my God. Am I really getting a roommate? That's what I said. But it was so worth it. I moved to a part of Brooklyn I had no idea about. I didn't even know what everything was going to look like. But I did it. Literally drove to New York in a U-Haul truck with my son. Never did that before.
Yeah.
Went to the Park Hyatt, printed out the directions because there was no navigation back then. I printed out the directions and we drove to New York. And to this day, I think about that story and I'm like, how in the
You're
world?
like, did I really do that?
How did I do
And
that?
at 27, it's not right.
I was 27 years old and I did that. It was my birthday present to myself.
Wow.
So inspiring.
And just
Well, I guess it worked out.
It worked out. It really did.
I guess it worked out.
New York showed me like crazy love. And I even like living here in LA, I still miss New York, but it was just time. My son had graduated high school and was going to college. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go for more of a calmer life. Let's do something different. So took him. Well, he actually went to college. So I just took the twins, my twins that are 13 now. And we moved to LA.
Wow.
And LA was healing.
Yeah.
Like, even though I've went through everything and had a wonderful life, during the ending, it was just like, you know what? It's time to get some healing. I had just literally broke up with a then past boyfriend. And I'm like, no, it's time for some healing. So I moved to LA, literally became celibate, didn't date for 3.5 years.
Wow.
Dated no one out here. Kept my head wrapped for a whole year and just went through this whole serious process and it felt so good. It felt so good. So I literally started coming out of my shell during that time.
Yeah.
I think I was about 40. It was my 40th birthday going on 41. And I started taking the scarf off, sharing with everybody else, trying to help others heal, writing.
Can you tell us a little bit about like some of maybe the more concrete healing things because I know where you went in that. I know where you went, but I would love for people to hear what that healing looked like day to day.
That healing was, I was determined. I was determined to come out on the other side better than I was going in. So that took patience, accountability, and I want to say a promise to myself. So that being said, I literally woke up every morning at 5:00 for a year. Every morning at 5:00, I meditated. I did self-healing, self-Reiki healing. And then I wrote a book for the whole year. I wrote an entire book about my whole autobiography. Because what better time to write, right?
Yeah, and reflect.
reflect.
Yeah.
And then
You mean what better time to write than when you're waking up at 5:00 and you're celibate?
honey, that celibacy at first was hard, but thinking about it, I was like, oh my God, it was just so worth it. I didn't crave for anything during that time because I was feeding my spirit with just words of wisdom, with good people, as far as being on the phone with my pastor in New York, being on the phone with my mom, talking with my uncles, just keeping it literally family oriented, being around my kids. They fed me so much love. Oh my God.
How old were they during your healing? They were 13 at that point?
No, they're 13 now.
Oh, now, okay.
They were in, I want to say, 3rd, 4th grade.
Like 8, 9.
Yeah, 8, 9, about 9, I want to say. Yeah, like 9 years old.
So you could kind of just hone in on that mama vibe, but then also just on yourself, which is, I feel like motherhood is just like obviously it's just like so much love and it's a process. But if you're not
so
loving
much
on
love.
you, they feel that. And then the more you love on yourself, they feel that. And then it's kind of like that circle of leading by example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I homeschooled them for the 3 years.
Girl.
Yes, I did. I traveled with them. I still
Wow.
worked, like going back and forth to New York. I would take them and travel with them, bring them on set. I had my old nanny in New York. So she would help out, you know, they were at the Four Seasons just chilling and I would be on set.
I feel like you guys are like mirror images
I
of
know.
each other. It's kinda,
Well, it also sounds
it's kind
like-
of weird to watch.
I know, it actually was really cool. It's really cool. And also, like what I'm seeing from you, which I also see in myself, is creating a tribe
Yes.
of support. Wherever you are, you know you can go and be supported.
I had to because I'm a single mom. I've never been married. I've been engaged, but I've never been married. So being out here in LA during that time with my healing and still traveling, and their dad is in New York. He's in the entertainment business as well. And it was just like, okay, I'm really out here by myself. I felt like even with my oldest son, his dad has always been around. And yes, I have 3 different. Don't judge me.
No, never.
But his dad was around and he's grown up by then. So the twins' dad, he literally is on tour nonstop. He's on set nonstop. So it was basically just me literally holding down my fort.
Wow.
And doing it. And then with them growing up in New York, I always had a nanny, like nonstop. I gave birth to them in August. I had a nanny in July.
Yeah.
Like it was, but when I moved out here to LA, I didn't have any family out here during the time. I knew some friends, but it was so hard for me to open up my home
You got to build slowly.
to a nanny. I think I tried one girl. I will never forget. But I have to tell this story. I tried one girl and I got called for a huge, huge job in New York. And it was for 2 days. And I had hired this young girl who was a friend of another friend. So I felt a little bit okay. And she was young, but responsible. I had her come sit with the boys for 2 days. I literally got to the airport in Arizona to switch planes to go to New York.
Oh, no.
She gives me a call and she says, "Oh, Julia, I'm sorry, but I can't watch the boys." I said, "Sweetie,
You're booked.
you're booked. I'm in Arizona. I literally just left the house an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours ago, right?
Oh, my God.
What do you mean you can't? I have no one to come and get them." I said, "What's going on? Are you okay? Are you sick? Should I send some? Do you need food? Should I send something?
What do you need?
What do you need?"
Yeah.
"Oh, no, I just got called to do this job
No.
for a celebrity." I said, "What job?" Because she told me she didn't have a job. She was like, "Oh, I got called to do makeup." I said, "When did you become a makeup artist?" I said, "No
Oh,
offense,
my
but
gosh.
when did you become a makeup
Yeah,
artist?"
yeah.
I said, "Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry." She was like, "No, but I really need this job. It's a huge celebrity." And I was like, "But we had a deal."
Right.
Yeah.
She was like, "Well, I'm sorry, but I can't."
No way.
What did
I
you
would
do?
lose my
I literally
ish.
had
back?
to
No way.
get a ticket and go. I went right back. Listen.
Wow.
I came right back to LA. I was so furious. I literally had her get her stuff together and be by the door because I live in a doorman
You're
building.
like, I don't want to talk to you.
I was
I don't
like,
want to see
just
you.
put the boys in their room, go downstairs. I don't even
wanna
want to
see
see
you.
you.
Yeah.
I couldn't
No.
see her.
I'm having heart palpitations.
Yeah.
And by the way, again, is in the journey that we're talking about, right? This is something I think is relatively unique to moms. There's this, I mean, you're a single mom. Sophie and I talk about this all the time. I don't understand how single parents do it. You guys are, I don't know if it's grants or just like annual celebrations. Like there's gotta be,
there should be a holiday.
I don't
should be a holiday,
But like a
right?
week-long holiday.
Yeah,
Not like
literally.
one day is not enough.
No.
Like there should be a day where the whole tribe just goes, "Hey, you do you
100%.
for like a week." Just the amount of stress I feel as the 20% parent in a house with 3 kids, I can't fathom. Like
Yeah.
the
Sometimes
amount
I
of
wonder how I do it.
resilience.
Yeah.
The amount of resilience you have to do to be able to do that. So do you fly back, take them and go turn around?
So I didn't. I ended up calling, and it was the most embarrassing thing I ever had to do in my 20 years of being a makeup artist was to say I can't show up. And it was like, and I will never forget, I can actually say it now. It was the show Power. It was really fresh during that time.
Damn.
But let me tell you how good the universe works and how good like all of this comes back to you. Literally last year, I get a call from a magazine, huge magazine, and they were like, Julia, I actually knew someone at the magazine. So he was like, Julia, I want you to do this shoot. I was like, okay, what is it for? It's for the show Power.
No,
I said,
that's
get out.
funny.
He was like, I want you to do the whole shoot. Like, he said, I'm going to have other makeup artists and hairstylists and stylists there, but I need you on this set.
Yeah.
That's how me on the set.
Every time.
And it was just, and it was like the end of the show. So look, I get called years ago.
That's crazy.
And now I'm actually a part of their history being made. And it was the ending of the show, but it was just a photo shoot here in LA. And I was just like, wow.
That's cool.
After another journey we'll discuss. That was like so sweet to just have and to be able to say, okay, wow, everything works out the way it's supposed to work out.
Yeah.
So even though we get kind of flustered during the moment when we can't have what we really want and what we know that we need, the universe always comes back and say, you know, I got something even better.
Exactly.
Just be patient, have your faith, and just keep driving, keep doing what you got to do. So,
do you feel like you're watching a mirror image of yourself, or am I the only one in here?
I mean, that's why I asked Maddie to get her on, because she's a magical being. I couldn't wait to get to know you better. Yeah, I was hoping maybe we could like talk about Reiki a little bit too, just because.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Reiki is a whole part of this journey. And since I'm in a position in my life right now where I've asked God and the universe last year, because I went through a trauma last year. And we can get into that if you want, but I don't mind sharing it because I just feel like it's so important. But I went through a trauma last year, and the end of last year, beginning of January this year, I had asked God and the universe to please help me to learn how to vocalize my transparency because I feel that in order for me to share my story, because I know that it's going to benefit and help so many people, help me find my voice. So in the interviews, I may start off a little shaky and a little nervous, but I warm up.
Yeah. I think we all do in the most vulnerable moments. Like I know Adia and I, when we lean in, even when we know what we're about to talk about, we still get very nervous, flustered, sweaty. And then we have a hangover for a few days from being vulnerable, but then the response comes out, and even changing one person's life.
Exactly.
One email, one text, one DM saying, your story changed my life.
Yeah.
Done. Worth the entire stress that our bodies go through to create that transparency and honesty.
Yes.
But that's how we found you, because
Wow.
we heard your energy. We felt
Thank
it, and it's, so whatever you want to share, we're here to hold space for, and just know that it's safe. And it's so important to put out these stories of whatever nature so that people can learn and grow from them and connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, again, something we talked about before we started recording, it's easy to focus on the really glaring, obvious differences in stories and differences in experience.
Yeah.
And those are important because they do help identify where we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Right? We talked beforehand about the NASCAR driver and the news. We talked about, the protests and the riots and how easy it is to focus on one or the other, depending on which side you want to prove right or wrong. And the George Floyd and the dozens and dozens of other people who've suffered and died and literally lost their lives because of a system that is unjust. And telling those stories and having those conversations is really important, so that we don't take our eye off the ball, and we just don't get complacent and with the status quo. And on top of all that, there's also the human experience that we all share that is more similar than we think it is, right? I think one of the things that I said, I don't remember if I've said it in any of the interviews, maybe I did with Rick, I don't remember, but one of the things that bothers me the most is that at the core of this, we can talk about systems and police brutality and cops not getting their kind of their judgment for some of the things they do, and implicit and explicit racism and all that stuff that exists. And those are nice words and they're good concepts to talk about. But I think the part that bothers me a lot is that I know that at its core it becomes a lot simpler, actually. And for the people who I think we really have a lot of education and work to try to do and change, is they have a core belief that they're better than other people. Better. Like inherently better. Something in their genetics and their ancestry and where they came from and the way they eat their fucking salad. I don't know what it is. But like, like I hold my fork this way and they hold it this way. Therefore, we are better. I think that's the part that bothers me the most.
Yeah.
Is that it's such a visceral thing that different people believe that they are just better. They have more value, right? That they are more valuable than other people. And we're going to have to figure that problem out somehow. Because
we just have to spread more love. And we can't worry about what they're thinking about.
No.
We can't, because even though it's so broad and you see it so clearly, is if we can just keep moving forward and making a better difference each and every day in someone's life, even within our own, especially in our community, but use more love, then slowly but surely things will start to turn around. But we just can't spend these days on worrying about how other people are thinking, regardless of race, color. We'll waste so much time. But if we can continue to move and strive forward with making a change in the way that we communicate with people, regardless of their color or their skin, how I communicate with Sophie, how I communicate with you, how am I showing that all that healing I did, I'm able to still show you and show up with love, regardless if I know you or not. As long as love is just exuding from me and just pouring into you and pouring into you, you can hate me, but I did my part and just said, well, I showed love. Can't worry about everything else.
Yeah.
I got kids. I got to teach them how to love and how to be strong and protected and aware of what's going on.
So maybe, if you don't mind, obviously a lot of the conversation in recent times, and I do want to hear about some of those stories you're talking about, because I think in the end it always comes down to stories. It always comes down to people connecting as one another, not concepts. But I love the candle making noise.
It's keeping us present.
It wants to say something.
The candle is keeping us dropped in.
The candle wants to say something too. That line that you just talked about between love and living through love and showing up with it, and yet the recognition that you live in a world that is going to test you and is going to judge you and is going to, maybe hurt you in explicit and implicit ways. And so to be strong and flexible and loving and
it's not
capable
easy.
And determined at the same time is not easy.
It's not.
So many of the things that we hear, Sophie and I hear from friends of ours, I'll say it, just like white friends of ours who are confused and don't really even know what side to take, or that there is a side, or any of that kind of stuff. A lot of the stuff you hear over and over is, but why does it have to be looting, or why does it have to be violence? And we hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And I want to give my answer that I give to them normally, but I actually want to hear what it sounds like from somebody that has this standpoint of, we still got to show back up with love. I talk a lot about the fact that, look, I don't know how angry and frustrated I would be if I'd been having this fight for 60, 70, 80, 100, 200, 400 years. Like, I'm pretty sure I'd be more pissed than people are, right? Like, and I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm not at all saying that violence or anger or screaming about something is the way to create change. What I'm saying is, I don't know that I'd be strong enough to not have that reaction when, once again, because what people don't understand. Someone's son, but somebody's son who reminds you of your cousin, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's the thing is, yes, it's George Floyd to us. And I'm literally saying like us,
but that's like an
white
uncle
people,
or mine, or my uncle or my dad.
Looks like my uncle, sounds like my uncle.
Exactly.
Maybe the same shit happened to my uncle.
Literally, yeah.
And so I'm looking at it and it's triggering the hell out of me. And to watch it once is uncomfortable. Watch it twice is nauseating. Watching it 3, 4,
Watching it once
5,
for me was just nauseating.
Yeah.
I get it.
Like,
But like, how many times can you take it without at some point just going, I'm getting a bat and I'm hitting something?
Yep.
And again, I'm not.
Well, I have to think about my kids, even though I want to take a bat and just like boom, boom, boom. But I just have to think about my kids because at this point I'm raising men, young men. So they
All 4 boys?
well, they're 3 boys,
Yeah.
23, and then the twins are 13. So the 23-year-old, he's actually such an incredible man. Like, I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with all my kids, but I say I'm obsessed with him because he's just the man.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen what I've was able to produce and create, and look at what he, like the way his mind works. It's so beautiful. And anyway,
and that's
I could
you,
talk all about,
and that's
about all
you.
of them.
But that's the beauty is like, it's you made that, you know, and like even like for me, like I work all the time. I have my own life. I have my independence. I, you know, love to travel. I love to be solo.
Yeah.
But at the end of it all, our spirit and our energy is what they become.
Yes.
So anyone could walk down the street and be like, that's Julia's son, you know? Like you
that's
can
literally
feel
what
it.
people do.
I know. Right?
People actually do that. But I look at him and the way he talks to his little brothers and explaining to them what's going on.
Oh,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
that makes you so proud, I bet.
Oh, it makes me so proud. The way he talks to them, explains to them, takes them out and shows them like, this shouldn't be happening. This happened years and years ago. Like the way that he explains it, I love it. And I'm so proud of him for that.
So keeping your focus on the impact that your actions have on them allows you to get centered.
Because if I go out there and just go and beat someone up, or you're walking down the street and I'm like, come here, boom, you know, you shouldn't have did this to. What is that showing to the kids? That you have to go out there and fight?
Yeah.
Like it has to be a reason why I'm fighting. So they need to know the reason why I'm fighting, not necessarily me physically going out there to fight, but just to use that power and that rage to try to make a difference.
Yep.
To say, okay, we're gonna do this for our culture. We're gonna show, and we're gonna talk more, and we're gonna educate people, you know, just to be present and to show them that.
Do you
that's
feel like
important.
for a long time you felt like it was safer to be silent? And when it comes to racism specifically, or?
I don't want to say it was safer to be silent. I feel like some places and how do I want to say it? Some places and situations actually made us be silent. Even though I've wanted to vocalize what I've been seeing for so long.
Yeah.
It always felt like the time wasn't right. Or we were in a situation to where now you can't talk about that right now. Whereas now it's like, look, enough is enough.
Thank God.
And I just feel like even in my life in general, just enough is enough. You know, we've been through so much for so long.
Yeah.
And I'm tired.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to get comfortable with trying to make you comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm over it.
Yeah.
Do you feel, I think I'm around 2 strong women I can ask this question. Do you feel like there's a parallel between the force and the movement that's happening right now around BLM, or like this whole racial equality, and the Me Too movement of the last like 5 to 10 years, where it seems like there's more forcefulness and more sustained effort, right? Like we were watching the morning show yesterday, and I know it's been out for a little while. Have you heard about it? Mm-hmm. So we're watching it, and the guy
I love that show.
Yeah, so the guy who I assume is kind of playing the Matt Lauer kind of character from real life. There's that piece where he's like, I'm not doing anything that other people haven't done for decades and decades. You know, this wasn't that big a deal. Now the rules changed and nobody sent me a memo. Mm-hmm. And I was telling Sophie yesterday that in a way it's like, fuck it. I step in shit all the time. I can step in shit here too. In a way, I feel the pain that he's uttering, because he's actually right. Mm-hmm. Like 15 years ago, nobody would have spoken up. That doesn't mean that what people did 15 years ago was okay, but it was kind of like the situation that people lived in made it disempowered, made the women who are going through the same shit for decades or centuries
going through the motions
feel like, oh, I don't have an option here. this is what I have to do if I want to keep my job, get a promotion, not get blacklisted, whatever the thing is. And what I'm wondering, as you were talking about the situations forced us, if there are some parallels there where like maybe there wasn't enough momentum. People didn't feel like they'd be safe enough if they spoke up to keep that going.
Actually, it's always been there. We've always been speaking up. It's just other people are finally listening and finally seeing. The voice was loud. It just wasn't being heard clearly.
Wow.
So now with the attention, eyes are open, ears are open, and the attention is there, but yet some refuse to hear it. You have no other choice but to hear it. Because now it's like this person is saying it, that person is saying Black Lives Matters is even louder than before. And the only reason why it's louder is because the voice has been there. We've been talking about this. We've been saying this, but the attention span is open. The ears are open more broader. The volume is up.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's always been there. It's just the volume is up.
Yeah.
I think it's also really interesting the timing right after, during quarantine for this to happen. Like, I wonder, I was just interviewed this morning for something and we were talking about this and it just hit me. I don't know if other people have said this, but the fact that it is the most perfect storm, that we're all home. We have nowhere to go.
Yep.
We're all listening.
The volume is up.
Phones, everyone's on their phones. Everyone's on the news. Everyone's constantly cycling through. We have no choice. We cannot hide. We cannot distract. We cannot travel. No. We cannot distract into work, leave, party.
Exactly.
You are stuck with the realities of this society, as fucked up as it is, as fucked up as our president is, as fucked up as our systems are. We have nowhere to look. We have nowhere to turn. We have to lean in. We have no choice. We have to listen.
You have to listen because it's there. And I feel like even the younger people, oh my God, the younger generation, they are not having it.
Yeah.
My son's age group, they're not having it. This is a whole new era. I feel that the kids, my Black culture kids from 20 to 30 are extremely more vocal now.
Yeah.
They are just not having it. And they have a voice. They're quick.
Yeah.
And they have a voice and they want to be heard.
Great.
Yeah.
And I tell my son, I said, I am just so proud of your generation, your age group. And even him himself, he's a designer as well. And the things that he's creating, I'm just like, wow. And he's just not backing down. When I say he's not backing down, I'm not saying like he's going out there and he's just, he's just stating his truth.
Yeah.
And he's walking in it and he's standing firm in it. And he's making it known that I'm here and I'm going to be here and I'm not going anywhere. He's so confident in that. And I just love the fact that my twins watch him.
Yeah, we're just not going to allow it. Like, it's this sternness.
Yeah.
Feet planted. We're not moving. We'll move forward, but we're not ever going back.
No, not going back.
Never
anymore.
again.
It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
It is. It's such a crazy time to live in because I think you're right. There was this undercurrent from my standpoint. There was this undercurrent for such a long time, but recognizing the impact and the pain and the tint that what was for me an undercurrent was somebody else's life, right? Like the things that we would pay attention every once in a while, something would peek out and we would kind of like pay attention. And I think what's happening for those of us who've decided to just keep staring at this thing until we figure out, be more active allies, I guess is the only way, right? Before it was like the idea of like, that whole idea of like passive ally is no longer relevant.
No, you have to be active.
I couldn't have even considered, now that I'm reading what an ally is and I'm in it, it's an embarrassment. Like, whatever I was before is embarrassing.
You're like, I'm letting it go.
Like,
my only thing, and it's with my culture and Blacks and the whites, is that for my culture, we have to stop oppressing each other.
Yeah.
We're on I see, people on social media and they're on like their white friends and it's just like, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. And I'm like, okay, yes, they have to do their part. They need to. They need to be more active, true. But you also have to do your part. And if we could just stop oppressing each other and be there for each other and love each other and say, you know what, I see you, instead of just putting all of that blame on the next person, then that's when change is really going to start. And that needs to stop immediately.
Do you think that's partially the whole buying into the, even if we don't like it, this kind of the whiteness system, right? The idea that there is some value in connecting to like the white platforms. Like if we can get it on those platforms, then it's more important because there's still this like built-in bias. I'm just thinking right away, we talked about it on one of the other episodes about this, but like, you know, there was a study, I think it's from the 50s. I don't remember the exact name of the researcher. Unfortunately, we'll have it in the notes.
You mean a more broader platform?
Well,
or
this idea that even when you realize that you're being biased against or that there's a stigma against you, sometimes there's an implicit buy-in. Like you yourself believe the things that others perpetrate against you. And the example I think, and I gave it before, is this doll experiment they did. I think it was in the 50s. We'll have the link for it, but where they gave little girls a choice between which dolls they wanted, and then they were asked why they wanted that dolls, and both black girls and white girls picked white dolls more
because that was what they were used to seeing.
There were no other.
There were no other dolls.
Yeah. So, but
I
the
think
idea
you probably
was,
want to use another.
Well, no. So one of the things, no, they rated them more highly. The black girls rated the white dolls even
that's
more
what I'm
valuable.
Saying. But that's the reason why I'm saying they rated them more valuable is because that's all they see.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is I'm wondering if there's this bias, almost an implicit bias right now about, well, if we can get the more accepted, the more like if we backtrack 3-4 months ago before this huge swell, because as you were talking about, the voices have been there forever. Before this huge swell existed, I'm wondering if there was this kind of idea of, okay, well, if we can get more white voices to voice this, it'll give more credibility to the movement versus what I'm hearing you saying, which is there's a black to black collaboration force that is at least as powerful, if not more powerful than, hey, here's what you guys on the other side need to do. Does that make sense as I'm saying it? I don't know if I'm explaining it.
Wait, when
you're saying that you're seeing like influencers trying to get on platforms of other white influencers, things of that nature, and kind of speaking out loud about the things that need to happen. More active.
I was saying how we need to. I believe what I was trying to say. Maybe you misunderstood what I said.
Yeah.
Is that how we're getting on each other? Say, for instance, I'm talking to Sophie. Yep. We've been friends for a long time, right? And I'm going to her and I'm saying, well, why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing that? And she's like, okay, I'll get to it. I'll work on that. And she's actually doing the work, right? She's being active. But then I'm with my sister, right? She's my fellow black sister, right? And I'm like, well, why are you getting on me and judging me and doing this? And she's not doing anything.
Got it.
I'm saying, we need to stop battling with each other. Like we're taking all this blame on her and saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, when we really need to be doing that with each other as well.
As well. Exactly.
Not saying that one side is better or different, or horrible or anything from the other. Yeah. I just want to see that, especially just in the wellness community itself. We need to support each other. Like, even going to some of the events, and I don't mean to take this whole conversation left, but it's just an example, just being a black woman in the wellness industry and trying to get my business out there or my voice or my, presence out there. But yet my fellow black sister isn't supporting me. Yeah. But then I'm going to Sophie and Sophie's like, well, hey girl, come on over here. Yeah. Why is it like that? It shouldn't be like that anymore. We as black women in this wellness industry need to stick together and be there for each other. All women in general need to just, be there and stick together and stop trying to just put the blame on someone else all the time, because it shouldn't be like that, especially if you're a healer. How are you a healer and you're putting the blame on someone else? You know what I'm saying? Like you need to go do some more healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I also hope that, my part in this as someone who speaks on panels in LA and is like at influencer wellness events and is paid well to do those things and is given the opportunity to slide my philosophy brand in because they have me speaking or whatever. Like those are all beautiful privileges. Mm-hmm. But going forward, I won't be going to any events unless, and I think that's part of our job is to be like, who else is on the panel?
Exactly.
What other brands are going to be there?
Yeah.
What's their stance on this and this and this issues? And that's a promise going forward to the end of time that I have. That, again, that blind spot that I would notice it's not very colorful here. It's not very diverse here. And I would notice that and be kind of annoyed by it, but I didn't say anything. I craved more diversity, but I didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
And now I know that I can use my voice for good in that way where like those subtle, if I start doing it, other people will start doing it. Not because they're not thinking that way necessarily, but it's their blind spot too.
Exactly.
And we can all empower each other and create little sparks of different ways to handle this same thing. It can happen quickly if we all just step up, which is why, I was very hard on a couple white influencers because they have 500,000 followers and they just kind of went on business as usual. And I know that it's tough to be a mom and never have a political stance on a social platform. But guess what? We have a responsibility. We have a moral responsibility when you have a big platform to take a stand, especially in these human rights issues. And I've been pretty hard on them and been kind of like, I wouldn't consider it a bully, but maybe they do. But to me, it's holding them accountable because we can create so much more change together. If we all just say, hey, that doesn't feel fair. And maybe someone else will think of something I didn't think of. And then they start doing it. And then it's just a trickle and we can all change the game in wellness in the world really fast.
We really can. There was a situation in Malibu. I love Malibu. And one of my,
bless white Malibu. Bless your heart.
No, I love Malibu because of the water and just the air and the food. But there is one place that I really, really loved with a D in Malibu. And I went and had like a little session. And the woman, I met the owner. She was so sweet. This was before everything.
Yeah.
She was so sweet. And she asked me, what did I do? And I told her. And she was like, oh my God, I want to get you in here. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Alrighty. I didn't ask for it. I didn't even expect her to say anything like that.
Yeah.
But she offered. So she said, why don't you give me your email and I'm going to reach out. So I sent her an email. Weeks go by. I sent her another email because, I didn't hear from her. Never heard anything, so I just let it go. So then a friend of mine, she wanted to go to the same place. And I was like, I'm kind of uncomfortable going there because this lady wanted me to reach out to her, and I did, and she never responded. So then I go back with my friend, do the same session, see the woman, the owner, and she's like, hi, oh my God, did you send me the email? And I'm like, yeah, I show her on my phone. And she was like, send me another one. And I couldn't understand, and she never responded to that one either. And this was a place that another friend of mine used for her event. Yeah. And I couldn't understand, why is this woman constantly, it felt as if she made it like she had to say this in order for me to like coming, but then never reach, you know what I'm saying?
And this is why we're sharing these stories. So for anyone that's listening, the nuance in this, because I've been that person that someone asked me to come do something and then I follow up and they don't. But I would never think it's because of the color of my eyes or my hair or my skin. I would never have to go there. And you went there. Am I assuming correctly? Like you went to that place of like, oh, well,
twice.
She feels like, yeah. Well, I meant like your brain went there.
Oh, yes.
Your brain went to the place of oh, she feels like she needs to say
she has
such
to
and
ask
such.
me
Exactly.
Like otherwise she feels like she would be rude, but she doesn't mean to actually follow up with me at all.
Exactly. It was like she was overextending herself for no reason. I wasn't expecting her to ask me to want to come and, teach.
And she could have just been sloppy. She could have just been.
She could have just said, hey, thank you for coming. I really enjoyed you. And that was it.
Yeah.
But she
went that extra step and got you excited and then didn't follow through. Yeah.
And twice. So it's like, I won't be going back there again.
Yeah, it's this unfortunate reality. And again, it's part of what I think we're hoping to get, right? If we're looking at where we're trying to go, I believe the place we're trying to get to is a place where it is explicitly understood that the interactions you're having with somebody are because of who you are, not what group you belong to.
Exactly.
Period. Like, hey, you love my stuff, ask me about it. You don't love my stuff, don't ask me about it. But don't ask me to seem nice to the black girl that came to visit you.
Exactly.
Just like,
and I
just
spent a lot of money in there too.
Yeah.
I did. And I was not to cut you off.
Sure.
But
No, please.
I was really, really disappointed and kind of pissed too. Cause I'm like, well, so you were only being that nice to me because you saw me dropping some cash in here. And then you went and overextended yourself about me coming to teach twice.
Yeah.
So it's like, so I won't be going there again.
Yeah.
And also whoever's listening, just putting yourself in the shop owner's shoes. You could have been that. That's why we're sharing these stories
Exactly.
is because where are there times in my life where I have walked that walk, where I have been both sides or one side, depending on the color of your skin. How did that make you feel? And I don't know, is there an apology out there that you could maybe, because it's like that next step, it's like forgiveness is huge right now. And, we've made a lot of mistakes in our culture and our society, and we're trying to make up for it.
Yeah.
But there's lots of different ways to cure a cut.
Yeah.
Or a wound or heal, right? And back to you when you're healing, like there are lots of different ways to heal. And we try and share so many different ways to heal on this podcast because everyone's different.
Yeah.
But just do your part.
Yes. Show up for yourself.
Show up.
Yeah. I do hope we can move away from this cancel culture concept though and allow people to have really, really uncomfortable conversations, even publicly.
Yeah.
And fall flat on their face and have to pick themselves up and go, oh shit, I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Maybe it seemed obvious to all of you, but I didn't realize like that weird ass conversation in the morning show, whatever, like somebody needed to get that guy, go, hold up, listen to the sentence that just came out of your mouth. Let's reframe. Those women 15, 20 years ago was still put upon, right?
Yeah.
We watched Selma a little while ago. Those whether it was the black first march or the black and white second march, like whichever one you look at, when the cops started hitting people, it physically hurt.
Yeah.
Right. It was a pain that people had to endure to get to this point.
Exactly.
You can look at the people now and say they weren't there during that time, but there's a generational suffering and pain that goes along with that.
There's
These are
a generational emotional stamp that's there.
trauma. These are stories that parents of parents of parents went through, an uncle of a mom went, like, these are ingrained in people's history. And when you pretend for a moment, well, I didn't do anything racist to you, what you're doing is you're devaluing the experience, right? And so again, I'm seeing these parallels. I mean, obviously I'm not the only one seeing these parallels, but like with women's oppression, racial oppression, this idea of just because there was a time when these things were taken for granted and were seen as normal doesn't make them okay.
It doesn't.
Doesn't make them okay back then, but we're done. Like, I don't have a time machine. Nobody here has a time machine. We can't go correct 400 years ago.
But we can move
This
forward
is the time.
going.
What's that saying? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is right now.
Yep, right now.
So you couldn't fix it 400 years ago and it was your great, whatever, and you got no influence on it. Cool.
Now you do.
Now is the time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so the question is to look at that entire trajectory and say, what can I do to repair the damage? Not just say, I wasn't there to create the damage, therefore my hands are clean. I think is a big part of the discussion that we all have to kind of wrap our heads around.
Yeah.
Right?
Take responsibility now.
Yeah.
And now it's just time to be more active, whether you're black, white, purple, blue, green.
Yep.
Just be more active because it affects us all.
100%.
You know,
100%.
it really does. But moving forward, just try to be more conscious of your words, not, you know.
Yeah. And I think we're trying to take a responsibility. And by that, I mean Sophie and I, in this particular instance, of being conscious of expressing when we're uncomfortable with somebody's words.
Exactly.
Actively saying, hey, that doesn't feel right. And as you've heard on multiple episodes, maybe on our podcast, also being willing sometimes to listen to other people's input in a way that wouldn't have been, I know, no, it's coming over me, in a way that maybe wouldn't have been as clear a little while ago, right? It's going to take learning on all of our sides and being able to have these conversations. So thank you so much for being willing to have them.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having
hopefully
me.
this won't be the end of it. We have, at the end of each one of our episodes, we ask 5 questions, and you're literally in the hot seat right now.
Okay, I'm in the hot seat.
do you want to go through them?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. What's the best advice that you've ever received?
Oh my God, there's a ton. But one that I will say right now that I've learned is to use your voice. You know, don't keep it bottled inside because that's stuckiness within you. You can't move forward. Use your voice. Speak it.
Love it.
Get it out.
So powerful.
Love it. What about one of your most proudest moments to date?
One of my most proudest moments is standing in my truth and being able to be transparent in my truth to help others heal and to assist them in their healing and in their journey. So that's one of my proudest moments today, as of today.
So
Love
beautiful.
It. You've been through a lot. I'm wondering if you look at your journey, what has been one of your most difficult moments to this?
One of my most difficult? How much time do you have?
I don't know. How much time do you need?
Well, one of my most difficult moments is after my daughter was born. Towards the ending and after my daughter was born, I went through some trauma with her dad. And to make that long story short, to find out who that person really was and to be able to say, wow, I literally lived with an opportunist, a narcissist who literally tried to assassinate my character. And I am standing here today and saying that I survived.
Wow.
And he has a new host and I'm just praying for her.
Oh, a new host. Wow. He's like a virus.
Parasite.
All right.
Damn, girl.
Wow.
Got some chatting to do. Wow. And then we always talk, as we've been talking about healing this entire time, on a day-to-day basis, what are some self-care rituals or routines that you just live by?
Oh my God, bath time.
I love it.
Excuse me, I gotta clear my throat. See, that's that transparency coming through. It's like, Julia, speak.
Yep.
Speak, darling.
Yep.
I love
Keep
it.
it up.
So bath time. Literally, every night I have to take a rosemary sea salt bath with my amethyst stones.
I love it.
I have to every night because that's my time to say, you know, the kids the boys aren't asleep at all. Like they never sleep now, but they're on their side of the house. I'm with my daughter or she's sleeping. That's my time. So Julia has to have her bath time. I take that very serious.
I love that. I
love
need
it.
to take it more seriously because I love it so much. And don't you emotionally just feel like the day, everything that
Washing
you
it
carry,
away.
especially as a healer, just we take on so much and hold it in our bodies and it's just like, okay, I'm going to cleanse it away.
Cleansing it away. And literally after the bath, after I soak, I take Epsom salt and just scrub my body. Take away all those auras, all that healing, all that attachment, and just scrub it off.
Yep.
Get it away.
Yep.
So yeah, that's one of my favorites.
I love it. I love it.
Our podcast is called Ignited. What ignites you?
Love. More love. Regardless of the hurt, regardless of the letdowns, I have so much love in me and I'm not holding it in.
That's beautiful.
Thank you for sharing your
Amen.
love with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget to do what we always ask you. Screenshot this, tag us, let us know what resonated with you so we can share it for everybody else. You know, everybody's got lessons to take from these conversations.
And we'll put Julia's Instagram in the show notes. So
Absolutely.
give us all a tag and let us know what your aha moment was.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignited podcast. We were so happy to have you along for this ride. Please go and subscribe to this. Leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And if you want more, don't forget to go to ignited.com, where all the podcast episodes are available with show notes and so many of the little details and links from each one of these interviews. And you can look at all the future events that we have going on, all the things that make Ignited so special, even beyond this recording. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.